Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We're happy that out in the wings we have Mr. John Cornett waiting to play a couple tunes. How are you, John?
I'm really good, thank you very much.
Good, good. And next to me is that wild and crazy guy, Mr. Casper Leach. And we'll be taking your phone calls. We have some good videos. And we have a very interesting hip news section coming up right after our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
Oh, there's dancing leaves. I got these dancing leaves on my tie. They dance around now. Thanks, Rex. Well, our first story tonight is from the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper has signed legislation, Colorado's House Bill 1373, also known as Jack's Law, permitting qualified patients access to medical cannabis formulations while on public school grounds. The governor stated, quote, "My son, if he needed medical marijuana and he needed it during the day while he was in school, I'd want him to have that opportunity. My hope is that this bill motivates those schools to make sure these kids can get the medication they apparently need," end quote, from Governor Hickenlooper. Under the new law, which took effect upon signing, primary caregivers possess the option to administer non-smoked forms of medicinal cannabis to qualified patients while they're attending preschool, primary, or secondary school. The law is similar to legislation adopted last year in New Jersey, the only other state that explicitly permits medical cannabis patients to utilize cannabis preparations while on school campuses. In our nation's capital, the United States Senate Appropriations Committee on Thursday voted 16-14 to allow banks to provide services to marijuana businesses. Currently, because marijuana is illegal under federal law, both medical and non-medical marijuana businesses are often unable to access banking activities and services like any other business. This amendment was offered by Oregon's own Senator Jeff Merkley. Consequently, many marijuana businesses operate on a cash-only basis, leading to huge public safety issues as the businesses become the target of robberies and are forced to hire armed security to protect their takings. One of the motivations for legalizing cannabis is to eliminate the illicit market and put marijuana in the hands of legitimate regulated markets. Whether you're for or against legalization, you have to recognize that having marijuana businesses handling huge amounts of cash with nowhere to deposit the money is a public safety concern that Congress has to tackle. For the second year in a row, the Senate budget writers have voted to address the banking crisis facing the marijuana industry. Access to basic banking services is one of the most critical challenges facing legal cannabis businesses and the state agencies tasked with regulating them. While an appropriations amendment isn't a permanent fix to the banking problem, it's certainly a significant step to correct a dangerous and unfair burden on responsible small business owners and regulators. A rare bipartisan coalition in both chambers has supported these reforms. It's time to make them the law of the land. In addition to banking, the bill passed on Thursday also allows Washington, D.C. to establish regulated marijuana stores right there, ironically, in our nation's capital. The United States House version, however, has language maintaining a ban on dispensaries. Congressional interference has left the District of Columbia in a state of limbo. Up in the Seattle area, Washington-based Microsoft Corporation, one of the nation's largest tech companies, plans to offer software for governments to track marijuana in states where it's legal. The New York Times reported on the news, calling Microsoft the first big company to say it's serving the legal marijuana trade. The software is designed to help states where cannabis is legal track marijuana plants from seed to sale, a service known as track and trace. The New York Times says that the large companies have shied away from any involvement in the marijuana industry until now, with the drug still illegal in most states and under federal law. A number of states have legalized recreational cannabis, like Washington, Microsoft Home, and half of the states that have legalized marijuana in some form. California, Arizona, and several other states will vote on full legalization this fall. State legalized marijuana sales are expected to climb to $6.5 billion this year, up from $4.8 billion last year. Microsoft has branded its cannabis compliance software Kind Government Solutions and will offer the software to government and regulatory agencies via its cloud computing Azure government platform. Back east, former NFL Baltimore Raven tackle Eugene Monroe, now a free agent tackle for the NFL, says he will not back down from his stance that the NFL should allow players to use medical marijuana, even though the Baltimore Ravens cut him because of it. However, the New York Giants hope to sign him, and it appears that they have no problem with that. New York Giants coach Ben McAdoo said he has absolutely no problem with any of his players or potential players expressing their opinions, even on controversial subjects. And while he declined to address the Giants' interest in Monroe or his own feelings about medical marijuana, McAdoo said Monroe's stance isn't an issue for him at all. Coach McAdoo said, quote, "I think everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Myself, I haven't done any research. I don't have a great answer for you there. That's probably more of a political question, something that I'm not necessarily willing to jump into. But every player, every coach, every person has their own opinion and is entitled to it," end quote, Coach McAdoo said. Monroe was released from the Baltimore Ravens on Wednesday. He indicated that his stance on medical marijuana is why the Ravens fired this all-pro player with 3 years left on his $20 million a year contract. He's been very vocal about his opinion that medical marijuana is a safer alternative to the opioid and painkillers prescribed to so many NFL players. Monroe tweeted on Thursday, quote, "One thing is for sure, I will never stop pushing for the league to accept medical cannabis as a viable option for pain management. I'll do everything I can to ensure that generations of NFL players after me won't have to resort to harmful and addictive opioids as their only option for pain management," end quote. The New York Giants have expressed interest in signing Monroe. A source close to Monroe said that he's likely to take his time picking a new team. Our last story tonight is from Southern Europe. Marijuana-derived medicines became legal in Macedonia on Monday, making the country one of over a dozen in Europe that have already authorized the products for certain patients. So far, 13 European Union nations have legalized marijuana-derived medicines, including Austria, Britain, France, Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands and Spain. So, right on. That's the end of our Hip News segment tonight. Mr. John Cornett is ready to play us a tune. Hey, John.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
I'm hanging in here.
Good. Hey, I just got a quick question. Is there any state or country, place that has just totally stopped prohibition?
Yeah.
Without
Uruguay.
Uruguay, okay.
Uruguay was the first nation to do it back in 2013. They're still implementing the law in Uruguay. That's a South American country right between Brazil and Argentina on the Atlantic seaboard. It's about the size and population of Oregon,
I
actually.
just wonder if somebody had, because I think we should just end prohibition. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. It went away. In biblical times, they called marijuana or cannabis cannabosin. For 12,000 years, she's healed our lives. For 1,000 more, she will brave the fight. She's my Joan of Arc, reaches through the flames, says, "Come to me, I can heal your pain." She's my Mary Jane, she's my Mary Jane. She's my Mary Jane. She's my Mary Jane. She comes to me, gives me sight. She holds me up in the heat of the fight. She's my Rosa Parks, holds her seat. She's amazing grace. She is oh so sweet. Saved from hell in the fire of the night. Free my soul and clear my sight. She's my Mary Jane. 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 Thank you.
How are you this week?
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. Happy Friday to our viewers. If you're watching on the night of June 17th, then you can call us if you have a question about ending marijuana prohibition like we've done in Oregon and a few other places. If you have a question about industrial hemp, medical marijuana, well, that's why we're here. So you can call us at that number there on your screen. It is 503-288-4442. It's 503-288-4442. We'll be happy to take your phone calls. Remember, there's a 6-second delay, so don't listen to your telephone. I mean, your TV if you're calling in. Listen to your telephone. So how's your week been, Casper?
Busy, as always, staying on top of what's going on at Time for Hemp and keeping up with the marijuana and cannabis movement. Well, keep you hopping.
It has been a busy one and keeps getting busier and busier, we're happy to say. We have a lot of interesting information. I think it's pretty nice that Colorado's Governor Hickenlooper signed that bill. It goes into effect immediately, allowing medical marijuana patients in school to take oral cannabis preparations. That's a huge step forward. That certainly adds a whole new twist to the idea of protecting our children, doesn't it?
It sure does. It sure does. He's got a unique name, too.
Hickenlooper?
We had a famous Hickenlooper in Indiana. Harlow Hickenlooper had a Saturday show every week for about 15 years, specifically for kids. He'd show the Three Stooges and Bugs Bunny cartoons, and we'd all sit around from noon to 1 o'clock, and that's where I picked up that happy birthday song that I do for my very special friends on their birthday.
All right. What is that happy birthday song?
That's the one I call you up, and it's, you're always grateful that I just sing it once a year.
Okay. Well, yeah.
But you can go on to YouTube and type in happy birthday song, Harlow Hickenlooper, and you'll see that it's very unique.
Okay. You got kind of a hard H sound there. I never thought I'd hear a hard H sound.
Yeah. Harlow Hickenlooper.
All right. All right. Well, again, if you have a question for us tonight, you can call us. It's 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. You know, our studio typically shuts down here for a week around our 4th of July. And so this 4th of July, I am taking off to Kyoto, Japan, to the Kyoto Environmental Hemp Forum. I'm pretty excited about that. One of the most exciting things is that the First Lady of Japan, the Prime Minister's wife, the Prime Minister of Japan is Shinzo Abe, and his wife, Akie Abe, has been a proponent of traditional hemp culture and its use in the Shinto beliefs that are predominant, the predominant spiritual practices of Japan. And so in Shinto, all of the temple grounds and the clothes that the priests wear and the shrines on their altars are all made of hemp. And hemp has been used there for 2,000 years. So the Prime Minister's wife came out as a proponent of industrial hemp, and she'll be at the Kyoto Environmental Hemp Forum. It's also going to be streaming online. So there's a part of it that if you're interested, you can actually watch while it's live. So check it out. It's Kyoto Hemp Forum. That's KYOTOHEMPFORUM.com. KyotoHempForum.com. You know, back in the 91, 92, you were doing a TV show, weren't you, Casper?
I was.
And you were doing a cable access show in Los Angeles.
I
called
was.
Time for Hemp.
Time for Hemp. That's how the whole thing started.
Back then you had hair.
I did.
And we were younger back in
Well,
1990.
you know.
But that's like 25 years ago,
I
right?
still feel 30 on the inside.
I understand. Well, you know, we have a film clip from your old Time of Hemp show.
No.
Where our friend and international icon Willie Nelson talks about it's time to let American farmers prosper.
Nice. Well,
So,
let's see that.
Here's Willie.
Groovy.
Here it comes. It won't be long now.
Millions of farmers all over this country have been losing their farms at the rate of 1 million a year.
Acreages,
well,
1 million farms.
Farmers. You know, at one time there was 8 million working farmers in this country, American family farmers. Now we're down to probably less than 2 million. The big corporations, it's the old story of the big ones eating the little ones. And they're running the small farmer off the land. And when that happens, the farm town closes down. The first thing, the hospitals and the schools go. And then what happens is all these people are now unemployed. They move on to the next big city, which causes the same kind of problems in that city. I think that all the homelessness, alcoholism, insanity, all these things that we experience, unemployment in our country can be traced back to the first time that the first American farmer was forced off his land when he was unable to make a living off of 100 or 200 acres of land. And the reason for it is because they have asked him, demanded or made it necessary that he raise a crop below what it costs him to raise it. He loses money on, for instance, if he, just example figures, for instance, if he were to, it costs him $2 to, or $3 to plant and raise and harvest a bushel of corn, and if he only gets $2.50 for that at the market, then he's losing. Right. And this is an accepted practice in American agriculture today for the farmer to get less than what it costs him to grow. And they keep trying to justify it with subsidies and whatever. But the American farmer would rather go out here and work hard and make his money the hard way, the way he knows how to do it. Give him an acre, let him do what that acre can do. Let him do it without all the pesticides, without all the chemicals. Don't put his yield so low, his money so low that he has to use every piece or every gallon of pesticides that he can find to pour on that acre of land in order to get enough money out to almost break even. They have forced him into this position. There are even banks who will not loan you any money at all unless you agree to use X amount of pesticides and chemicals on your land.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. Because they know that the only way you can make your payment is if you get so much off of that acre, and the only way you can get that much off of that acre is to keep pouring the chemicals to that 1 acre.
Wow. Now, when did you first become aware of hemp as a cash crop?
A couple of years ago, I read a book I think that a lot of us have read by now called The Emperor Wears No Clothes, and it was in that book there was a reprint of an article. The one thing in that book that I saw that could not be argued with was an article that came out in 1938 edition of Popular Mechanics magazine, February edition, if anybody wants to go check it out, that said a new $1 billion crop for the farmers.
Do you think that farmers today would be receptive to growing hemp as a cash crop? Because of all the propaganda we've heard over the years, there are so many people now who believe that it's the evil weed. but we kind of figure it, because of all the products that it can create, that it could be a solution.
Well, definitely. I think most people that I talked to had no idea, just like me, that hemp and marijuana was the same thing. We were ignorant of that fact. Also, we were ignorant of the fact that hemp could be used as food. It can be used as clothing. The first Levi's in this country were made from hemp. The first Bibles were printed on hemp paper. The Declaration of Independence, the first 2 copies of this was printed on hemp paper. People don't know that.
Now, when you're out there working with the farmers side by side, do you have an opportunity to witness ways that we, people who are not involved with the farm communities on a daily basis, those of us who are driving to and from work and stuck in our offices, what can we do to help the farmer overcome this misery? They've been together as our backbone forever.
There's a great plan that just I became aware of it here a year or so ago, last year in fact. The farmers have come up with this idea themselves. It's called parity giving. For instance, if you're a rich guy, you got millions of dollars, you want to do something for the poor, the hungry people, you would buy direct from the farmers, pay them a certain price. For instance, for corn, if you buy $1 million worth of corn from the farmers and pay them $3 a bushel, whatever the market price is, then you would be able to write off, you give it to the hungry, you give it to the poor people. Then you would write off what is considered a parity price or a fair market price which would be in the neighborhood of around $7. So you would get to charge, you buy it for $3 and get to write off $7. So this would be a great benefit not only to the guy with money who wants to help, to the farmer who gets his product sold, and also to the people out there who are hungry, who needs the food. It's really ridiculous for people to be starving to death on this planet when there's a lot of food available.
A crazy guy here, Casper Leach. We have our hemp flame of freedom here. This is hemp seed oil that is burning with a hemp wick. Hemp seed oil was the world's primary illuminant until replaced by petrochemicals back about 150 years ago. And soon, when farmers can grow high THC hemp for its seed oil again, we can replace petroleum. I've done the calculations. If we have high THC cannabis, 1/10 of the world's agricultural land could completely replace petroleum, and the byproduct from pressing the hemp seeds to get that oil would be food. You'd get, for every 100 gallons of hemp seed oil, you'd get 300 pounds of high-protein hemp seed meal left over. So the fiber from the stems and stalks, like this right here, would wipe out deforestation. We wouldn't need any more trees except for certain building materials, but we wouldn't need them for paper, and we'd have much more long-term use out of our hemp products. So the reason hemp is illegal is because the petrochemical, pharmaceutical, military, industrial, transnational, corporate, elite, crony, capitalist, ruling class
sons of bitches
to take marijuana and take hemp and call it marijuana and make it illegal. So when we can allow farmers to grow hemp again, we will save our environment, restore our economy, decentralize wealth, and help preserve life on Earth. That's why we're here. That's what motivates me. That's why we're fighting the corporate monster, and the corporate monsters and liars and cheaters are attacking us. It's because they want to stop that message from getting out. These minions of George Soros that are out there trying to overregulate cannabis and steal businesses from the mom and pops of the world are going to lose in the end, and will be exposed. So if you have a call or question for us tonight, you can phone us at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. Was that exciting when you had Willie there in your studio back 25 years ago?
It was more exciting to smoke his weed than it was to talk with him.
Well, now Willie's Reserve weed is coming out. In fact, I'm working with him to come out with some here in Oregon. It's coming out next month in Washington and Colorado.
I remember
So-
I had a religious experience from smoking Willie's weed. I realized that eternity is a long, long time, especially when you get down towards the end.
All right. Well, that's a point. So, I talked about how I'm so excited to go and speak at this Kyoto Hemp Forum in Japan, and we have a little video that some folks have put together. Now, at the beginning of this video, they show me, my wife, some other people down in Uruguay last year with a hemp flag we made here
Cool.
in Portland, Oregon. And we made this flag out of 100% hemp fiber with Portland Hemp Works and Hemp Man, Eric Loitz, and we're in the process of making one for the Kyoto Hemp Forum on July 2nd. So here's a little video that the folks at the Kyoto Hemp Forum put together. We'll be back in just a moment.
こんにちは。NPO 法人日本朝協会の、理事長を務めさせていただいております、岡沼隆と申します。よろしくお願いいたします。第1回世界朝環境フォーラムは2016年7月2日国立京都国際会館にてヘンプエンバイロメンタルフォーラムという朝と環境に焦点を当てた国際ネットワークの公式なキックオフイベントです。当日はアメリカ、カナダ、タイ、オーストラリア、南米からの参加者に加え、オンラインフォーラムでも世界中からの参加者が思いを伝えてくれます。バイオマスの象徴ともいえる朝を通して、世界が協力して持続可能な未来を作っていく、そのきっかけとなれば幸いです。地球環境が悪化の一途をたどり、そして多くの知恵が築く伝統の技術や文化が年々失われていっている今こそ始めなければ手遅れとなります。ぜひともこの歴史的な変換の時を多くの皆様と共有させていただきたいと思います。7月2日は国立京都国際会館でお待ちしています。
So I always say that, don't you think? That's something you can see the hemp items that they wear in the Shinto shrines, that little thing tied around their head, and the little hanging tassels that are on all the Japanese Shinto altars. So you can find out more, translated to English even, if you go to KyotoHempForum.com. So, have you ever been to Japan?
No.
I see. Well, I haven't been to Japan. I went to the Narita airport one time on the way to China, and but that doesn't really count, just being in the airport. I don't think it counts.
A lot of our jobs have gone to Japan.
More of them have gone to China.
They have.
Japan, back in the 80s, we thought that they were the juggernaut. But since the 80s, they've stagnated, and their economy hasn't really grown at all, and they've had a declining standard of living, but they still have a pretty high standard of living.
They have a new tourist attraction there called Fukushima.
Yeah, I don't know if that's an attraction. But one thing that hemp can do is it can phytoremediate the soil. Our friend Jane Nair talks often about, Jane Nair Harden talks often about how hemp can be used as a phytoremediation tool to pull radiation out of the soil and sequester it into hemp fiber. And she also talks about hemp seed oil being used for 3D printing. That's another very interesting thing. We'll be at the Kyoto Hemp Forum with Paul Benham, who has been producing hemp food in England and Australia, and also a pioneer of hemp plastics. He was one of the first people to take hemp plastic. But we are taking your phone calls tonight. We have a studio audience as well. If you have a question for us, you can call us here at the studio at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. And you're welcome to come down and be a studio audience member most any Friday night. And one of our studio audience members is standing by right this second to ready to ask a question. Go right ahead, Rod.
Hey, Paul. I was wondering, when you go to Japan, you think you're going to be able to smoke some weed over there with those?
I don't know. It's kind of scary. Their laws are pretty serious. One of our cameramen over here, was working with Time magazine in Japan when they busted him for 6 grams, and he had to spend a few months in jail. And then when he got out of, Paul McCartney got busted in Japan, and they told him never to come back, but maybe they've changed their tune. But our cameraman, they said they went, when he got out of jail, they went to all his neighbors and told his neighbors to keep an eye on this guy and report him if anything happened. So in the end, he decided to come here to America, and who can blame him?
Wow, they sound like an ex-girlfriend.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, the First Lady of Japan is now a proponent of industrial hemp, and we can hope that maybe that'll be the beginning of the change of some of their laws, but time will tell, of course. So we have another video clip. We have lots of video clips tonight. So it's still daylight out here. We're in the summer, and this is that rare time of year where our show happens during the day. People are used to watching it more at night. They're out still enjoying the late
But it doesn't
light
get dark
of late
now until
summer.
almost 10 o'clock at night.
I know, and then the sun starts coming up at 4 a.m. here. The farther you get north, of course, the longer the days are. And so if you're from the southern U.S.,
According to
shorter
YouTube, the
days.
Earth is having a shift of axis, and we're going to be all dead in about 6 months. So,
Okay, well, let's party.
all right.
Here is a video featuring our friend, the late, great John Trudell at Hemp Aid.
Nice.
Willie Nelson and Neil Young's concert, Hemp Aid, that they've been putting on for about 35 years, too. And John Trudell was there about 3 years ago. He just passed away last December 8th. But here's John Trudell at Hemp Aid. We'll be back.
A friend of mine, a friend of the farmer, Native American activist from all over the country, John Trudell. I'd like to introduce John to y'all. He has a few words about farming that he'd like to talk to.
First, I appreciate this opportunity, and I'll be brief. But I want, as a person of the land, as a human being and as a person of the land, and in relationship, and I relate to farmers as being people of the land. And with all the problems that we're confronted with and faced with, I would like you all to consider learning the realities of industrial hemp. The economic, environmental realities of industrial hemp. Teach it to the young. Have your organizations and the people that represent you and you yourself take it upon yourself to learn the realities of industrial hemp. It will save the family farm. It will give the young farmer a future. You go, have your organizations, have the people that represent you learn, save the family farm. It will give the young farmer a future. You go, have your organizations, have the people that represent you learn everything there is to know about industrial hemp. It's a part of American history. All right, it's always been here. It will save the family farm. Right? Do that. If you would just do that, right? And the next election in 2016, vote hemp. Make it vote hemp. Learn vote hemp. All right, and make them all support this because it will create an economy and an economic base for the people.
My friend John Trudell, who unfortunately just passed away here about 6 months ago, but he put on a long fight against cancer, though. And he played his very last show at our Portland Hempstock Festival back on October 17th, just a few weeks before he passed away. He had great effort, and through a lot of pain, he put on a nice set, and you can watch videos from that on our YouTube channel, Restore Hemp.
It's amazing the number of prominent activists that you and I both knew in the last 36 months that have left us.
That's true. That's true. A lot of our people have unfortunately left. Folks like a couple of our cameramen, Rod, who is his wife is here, his widow is here in the audience with us tonight. Hey, Vicki. Melody Silverwolf, who worked in our office for many, many years. She died rather quickly and unexpectedly. I'm happy to say that we have just discovered her book. She'd written a book called Killer Bud. And so it has finally come out from her files today. and we're anxious to share that with her friends. So if you know Melody and you want to read it, well, we've got it. I guess she wrote a murder story, and she changed the names to protect the innocent, but I'm told that one of the main characters who was murdered in this Killer Bud book, and I haven't read it yet, but I was told after she passed that I was the model for that character who was murdered in the book. But there's certainly a lot of folks out there, you know who you are, who would love to kill various activists out there. You know, reminds me of that old Spinners song, you know, from the 1970s, Backstabbers. They smile in your face all the time. They won't take your place. The Backstabbers. You know who you are. So karma is a bitch, and your karma will run over your dogma. Better count on that.
I can't publicly give my doctor's name out because people send him hate mail for keeping me alive.
Well, you know, we don't want to see you go anywhere, Casper. So we're happy to have you here. You're like our little. But what did you think about Orlando? The horrible. I mean, they had 3 tragedies in a row in Orlando this week. First, they had that young singer Grimmy, who was shot in the head while she was signing autographs after her show. A very vibrant young lady. Then the next day, they had 49 people murdered by a crazed bully. And then a couple days after that, a little 2-year-old toddler was dragged down from the Grand Resort in Disney World. So it's been a tough time in Orlando, and our hearts and prayers go out to the people there and the families that have been horribly impacted. I mean, it's one thing to hurt someone, but it's quite something else to kill them, and that's something that we deplore, of course.
I think the one that blew my mind the most was the 2-year-old being eaten by the crocodile.
Yeah, that was pretty awful. You're at Disney World. You think it's safe? You're at like a really nice resort hotel, and an alligator takes your baby. That's just horrible. That's horrible. Anyway, if you're out there and you have a question or comment for us tonight about marijuana laws, marijuana regulations, medical marijuana, and of course industrial hemp, you can call us. That number on your screen. It's 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. And our studio audience member is back at the mic. Go right ahead, sir.
So what's the laws on growing the 4 recreational plants in our yard?
Every household, regardless of the number of occupants in the household, can grow 4 plants. And those are 4 budding plants. You can have unlimited numbers. Every adult and every cannabis business can have unlimited numbers of non-flowering plants. You can have hundreds of non-flowering plants, but without a medical marijuana license, you can only have 4 flowering plants. So here in Portland, your plants with the sunlight will start flowering in mid-September and finish up by the middle of October. So those are the rules. Every place you can grow those. So get out there and grow your herb. You're in an apartment. That makes it a little more difficult, doesn't it?
It does, and even if I had my own space, I'm not that savvy at planting and growing. And you know, some people just have a real natural knack and ability with certain hobbies, a green thumb. I'm good on computers. I'm not good on gardening. And I know people who are lousy at computering but are great on gardening. So
we've all got our talents.
Because I can help burn it. I have no problems with that.
I know that.
Yes.
You burn a lot of the bud I grow.
Boy.
I can say that. And you've never been charged a dime for it.
Never been charged a dime.
Hey, we talk a lot about hemp seed oil and hemp for energy.
Yes,
but we have a little cartoon about fiber-based ethanol production. And so here is the Peace Bud.
Cool.
Get on the Peace Bud. It's like the Peace
Bud.
Trains.
What's up? It's me, your pal, Peace Bud. Today I would like to introduce to you a peaceful fuel for your automobile. It's a fuel that can be produced abundantly here in America. It could end all the wars for oil. It's a fuel that you can even brew at home as a hobbyist. What's this amazing fuel that the oil companies don't want you to know about? It's ethyl alcohol, or better known as ethanol fuel. Ethanol can be made from your yard debris, sticks, wood chips, or even newspaper. But the ideal plant for ethanol is one in high sugar content, with an internal cellulose structure of dense strands of fibers. Gas companies are already using ethanol made from corn grown in the Midwest. But then what are we gonna eat? By converting food to fuel, we risk starving ourselves by raising the cost of the food we eat for the sake of feeding our automobiles. America is a nation of resources, and each region grows different types of vegetation, but not all environments can support the same types of crops. That is why we need to use my friend the cannabis plant. Unlike other plants that farmers are promising to grow for ethanol fuel, the cannabis plant is the ideal plant to grow in nearly any environment. One cannabis plant produces 50 to 100% more biomass needed for ethanol than a corn plant, and it's easy on the soil, unlike corn, which depletes the soil of nutrients, requiring all kinds of special fertilizers, leaving the soil even more depleted of nutrients, requiring even more fertilizer. Whereas the cannabis plant's root system can be left in the soil, as it will break down and replenish the soil with nutrients for the next growing year. So why not make it easy and grow a crop humans have used for centuries for various technological needs? Ethyl alcohol is the key to a future of peace and renewable energy for the planet's automobile growth. A fuel economy based on ethanol creates industries that would empower the farmer, and their yield would support the local community for food and fuel. Ethanol is made by first taking your fresh harvested vegetation and grinding it into a fine pulp. Then you boil it in a large pressure cooker. After you've boiled it into goo, you then transport your boiled mush to your fermentation tank, a large, airtight contraption in which you'll mix your mush with yeast, creating a fermentation process. The byproducts of fermentation is alcohol and carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide can be harmlessly released into the air, as plants and trees can naturally process it back into oxygen. The last part of this process is to take fluids from your fermentation tank to your distillery, where the remaining water will be separated from the ethyl alcohol. The alcohol is boiled off and then cooled to recondense into a pure ethyl alcohol fuel. You see, an ethanol-based fuel economy would empower everyone to potentially brew their own fuel, just as a hobbyist brews their own beer. But big oil companies don't want you to know any of this. During the Industrial Revolution, the big oil, timber, and chemical investors worked real hard to demonize the cannabis plant by launching huge propaganda campaigns that targeted a dangerous plant called marijuana. They created so much fear and hysteria that the government declared all strains of the cannabis plant as being illegal, thus removing the main competitor of the oil, timber, and chemical industries to make their fortune through planetary destruction. But now we can see how a fuel economy with the oil industry is one that harvests death and all the miseries of war and its shadow, while an economy based on growing cannabis for fuel is one of life and creation. So join me in the new revolution of the 21st century. Legalize cannabis and create a new era of peace, prosperity, and renewable energy.
It's the Peace Bud.
Pretty groovy cartoon.
It is. I like Peace Bud. We're going to have him back on more often.
I figured a long time ago, once Americans realized all the things that we could do with this plant, especially free ourselves from a dependency of foreign oil, just that alone would have ended the prohibition the first time anybody heard it, because we're so tired of being held hostage by those
I want to
people who
talk
hate
about
us, who
that.
take
You know,
our
there are
money for
some
fuel.
people who say that hemp cannot replace petroleum, and that's because they believe the numbers of low THC hemp production. Low THC hemp produces 1/20th as much seed as high THC hemp. As long as we grade our hemp crop for fiber and seed on its THC content and not on the most productive varieties, it will never compete. But high THC cannabis produces at least 20, maybe 25 times more seed oil and protein. So we can grow 500 gallons of oil, hemp seed oil, an acre with high cannabinoid, high THC hemp. Low THC hemp will only make about 1/20th of that.
And Jack Hare pointed out that the government pays farmers not to grow and to leave land barren.
And the byproduct of making 500 gallons of hemp seed, the leftover pressed hemp protein, is about 10,000 pounds of high protein hemp seed, which would wipe out world hunger. And the other byproduct is about 30 to 40 tons of hemp fiber. We don't need to cut down our trees. We can stop deforestation. Hemp is the solution, folks. You know, those toxic oil spills, if that was in hemp seed oil, we'd be enriching the environment instead of poisoning it. And that's the key here. Hemp is the environmental solution. It will decentralize wealth. Instead of all that money going to Exxon and Mobil and the Saudi sheiks and George Soros and his offshore Israeli natural gas drilling companies, it will go to our farmers. We'll be spending in our communities and enriching us all.
Well,
so,
I was going to say that Jack pointed out that there's a lot of acreage in America that's sitting barren.
That's right.
And our farmers are being paid to leave it barren. And that way we keep our tomatoes getting a certain amount of money and our soybean getting a certain amount of money.
There are about 49.
He pointed out that if you took all that acreage and just grew hemp on it, we could probably take care of
Well,
the
you know, let me
public
talk about that.
transportation.
There are 49 million square kilometers of agricultural land. And out of the 49 million square kilometers in use for agriculture, only 14,000 of them are arable or plowable land. And we only need about 5 million square kilometers to completely replace petroleum. And that's the reason marijuana is illegal, folks.
There you
We
go.
have a studio audience member who had a question here, so go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, Paul. You know, we have a house over in Forest Grove. We lived there for 20-something years, and suddenly, you know, the state says everybody can grow 4, but the city of Forest Grove says, we don't want you guys to grow any. So
Aren't they supposed to put that up for a vote? I don't
Yeah,
think
they're
they can
supposed
stop
to,
you
but
from
the-
growing your 4 plants.
Well, the thing is right now is when we're supposed to be putting them in the ground.
Yeah,
So
yeah, or last month.
this is like, are they
I don't
are
think
they
they
bullying
can do
us
that.
or what? What's going
I
on
don't think
here?
your city can ban your personal 4
think
plants.
so.
I don't think that's legal. I think they can't stop you.
Thank
you
you.
should challenge them on
Thank
that.
you. Thank you very much.
I'll help
sir.
you.
That's all I want.
Well, you know, we have been working to end hemp prohibition and restore hemp for a long, long time. If you want to get involved in our campaign, go to our website at crrh.org. That's crrh.org. If you're interested in calling us, well, you can call that number there on your screen. It's 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. I know, Casper, you've been doing a radio network with lots of different hosts.
I have for quite a while. iHeartRadio fell in love with the work that I'm doing at Time for Hemp and decided it would be ideal for a station on their network. And they gave me station status. And over the last couple of years, a handful of activists and I have been making a lot of noise trying to make it clear how important it is to end prohibition. If you go to timeforhemp.com, you can check out all of our past programs for free. They're all free to download. We got editorial cartoons up there to share on your blog sites and to send off to your local newspapers and magazines. You can visit the Hempsons there. We got all kinds of videos too, off and on throughout the website to share with your friends, and an occasional surprise on every HTML. And it would be great if you shared us with your friends. So thank you, Paul, for the chance for the
another shameless plug. All right, we have another little video. Mr. John Cornette is standing by in the wings, but let's run our last video for the night. No, we don't have another video. Well, you know, our show is all volunteers, so that's the way it goes. But again, if you want to get involved in the movement to end industrial hemp, you can call us at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606.
And we want to encourage people to spay and neuter their local politicians.
That's right. That's right. And replace them at regular intervals.
Yes, please.
We are done, and Mr. John Cornette's about to play us a few minutes of music. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back next week. And remember to help restore hemp. Good night.